Hey YouTube. Well, this is startling. Christiana Garrett just sent this to me. This is amazing. And it's shocking too, and it's scary too, but there might be something to it. You'll remember I said, this is not about the oil, this is something else. Well, we might have our answer here. Well, back to basics. Gulf of Mexico intended to be an algae farm. Startling indeed. Algae biofuel. At your latest prayer for God's solution to the Gulf catastrophe, please get comfortable in your chair and pursue this. You may wish to read this more than once and read the linked documentation. And lest you think Joanne and her friends are naughty, I have spoken with her. For example, I asked her if she believed that the Deepwater Horizon gusher was started intentionally. And what did she say? I don't know. Do you? I.O. does not suggest that the grand plan is to make one vast algae farm of the Gulf of Mexico. But mega manipulators, mega racketeers, and mega exploiters must be watched as the dead zone gets even bigger in the Gulf. Okay, the main topic. Startling revelations. More is going on in the Gulf of Mexico than oil spill. The team is at it again. In the course of our investigation into the oil spill of the Gulf of Mexico, we have uncovered some startling information. What I'm about to tell you will knock you off your seats. There is a lot more going on in the Gulf of Mexico than the oil spill. This administration and many other entities like BP, Citi, Nalco, GM, GE, Goldman Sachs, University of Chicago, holding companies along with Department of Defense, billionaires and politicians are all vested in biofuels. What is going on in the Gulf is directly related to this new industry. There is an algae these companies are interested in. From the mouth of the Mississippi River all along the Gulf Coast and spreading down the Everglades is prime area for growing this algae. Christ is aware of this. Christ, I don't know who that is, Christ. He's funding this. There are a couple of other prime spots too. Chesapeake is one area and the Great Lakes is another area. Remember, we had an oil spill up there too. So that might be linked to this. Funny, we already had the Great Lakes SAR and the Chesapeake SAR. Now we have a Gulf SAR too. As you know, the oil continues to flow in the Gulf. It looks incompetent when assessing the response to the crisis. It is not incompetence. It is intentional and willful destruction. They are spraying dispersant that are toxic to sea life. The dispersant hold oil below the surface. Ask yourself, why would you want that? Wouldn't it be easier to vacuum the oil off if it's floating? They are not letting foreign tankers in to help. Even a few barges Jindal got his hands on were stalled, citing they need to be inspected to see if they have carried enough life vest, they think. They even pass the buck as to who is in charge. BP says they were in charge. O says he's in charge. And the Coastal Guard Admiral Thad Allen says he's in charge. They run us in circles to divert the real question. If you have noticed, the most of their news conference have very little to do with action response, instead of focusing on claims and processing. This is not incompetence. It is an intentional strategy. They don't want to clean up or even try to contain it. What they are doing is these 3 steps. First, get rid of the oil industry in the Gulf. Then turn Gulf into a dead zone. A dead zone is free of life or ability to sustain it. The oil dispersant and fertilizers deplete oxygen. It kills animals and fish, also turning their remains into fertilizer. Finally, use Gulf as a giant algae farm. Algae grows on water surface, getting oxygen from air, not water. Fertilizers are urea, supply much needed nitrogen. The Mississippi and the other rivers empty into the Gulf also pick up fertilizers from the many farms along the way. This feed the algae the mouth of these rivers. The oil in the water won't hurt the algae. It will only promote its growth and burn factor. Algae cost about $2 per barrel to refine. This is potentially very profitable. The downside is there isn't enough algae to sustain the demand. It takes a lot of algae to produce a single barrel. This means they need a huge place to grow and multiply the supply of this algae. Right now, they don't have this enormous algae farm location. They have the desire, the technology, the investments, and the companies all set up. They have even taken the steps to map up the plan. That plan involves projects in the Great Lakes, Chesapeake Bay, and the Gulf of Mexico. This spill, whether sabotage, negligence, accident, or design, is a perfect way to eliminate fossil fuels, abiotic fuels, such as oil, and to advance his biofuel agenda. They will sacrifice the Gulf and all who lives in it, or around it, for this multi-trillion-dollar industry. This also ties with the carbon capture and exchange. You all know about the Chicago Carbon Exchange, cap and trade, and even support of Kyoto. So I won't bore you with this history. For those who don't have the details and those bills and international climate agreement, please refer back to pods of mine, of those of others who have researched and posted. There is a proposal to store carbon that has been captured by industries in the Gulf. The carbon will enhance the algae growth, making a fortune for companies like Chicago Carbon Exchange. All the usual players as well, as a few ones are involved. There is everything from lies, deceit, government stealth, to insider trading and international destruction going on. My friend and research teammate has compiled a short summary. Read this, then I will pick it up from there. Step by step, Chicago to the Gulf of Mexico. The lawsuits list potential damage claims about $2.5 billion to the Gulf fishing industry, $3 billion to tourism, $700 million in remediations efforts so far, and $6 million a day in continuing cost and incalculable damages to BP reputation. We have all heard it said, carbon is a bad thing for our environment. Listen up, YouTube. The oceans are emitting more CO2 to the atmosphere annually than mankind have ever done combined in all the time they've been on Earth. And they're talking about carbon tax. They are lying to you, and you need to protest this in any way you can, and especially against the use of Corexit and the pollution of the ocean and taking over your coast and your life by killing you off and forcing you away from your homes. They got no right to, no matter what. You need to stop this, seriously. They can't do this, period. So what is the motivation of eliminating carbon? Money. Consider for a moment how wealthy these people and countless of others are getting by promoting this carbon offset science and forcing on alternative biomass science and technology. Frankly, determining the wealth of these people is an angry task. Yet, how does these people profit for this forced change from oil to biofuels? Stimulus money? See, bombshell expose insider trading, government legislation, corporate shakedowns. Let's examine some of the events. Okay. Okay. Let's chat for a moment about what happened. What the well explosion due to human error? Was it on purpose by human? Was it the work of military for hire, groups like Blackwater, Dynacorp, Triple Canopy? Yeah, I say so. There was a SWAT team out there and eliminating 11 people. May they rest in peace. We will never really know, since SAIC has full control. They know the answer, but in the end, does it matter? The well exploded. Now the question is why? Destroy big oil and American business and jobs. What will take its place? Aha! Glad you asked. Algae. Who is behind this crime? Incorporated. Which, by the way, is much bigger than Beck is able to report, and for that matter, that we can report. Well, we're gonna try. British Petroleum, one of the world's largest oil producers. BP had the most safety violations. But why is that? Enter NMS, Minerals Management Service. I'll put the links below. NMS is an agency of Department of Interior. NMS gave many waivers to BP for this Deepwater Horizon rig, not to mention safety award. Why did MMS give waivers to BP? Enter SAIC, which is Science Applications International Corporation. Okay, who was the head of SAIC while this agenda was being drafted and put into action? Robert Gates? You know, the guy who is now the Secretary of Defense. But what qualifies Gates for this job? Good question. But why is he really on the payroll? Gates has a resume that includes head of SAIC, Council and Foreign Relations, and he served on the board of Parker Drilling, an American offshore rig owner with HQ in Houston, headquarters in Houston. Now Parker Drilling has 75 international land rigs, 15 deep gas rigs, land rigs, 34 barge rigs, 7 platform rigs, 7 offshore jack-up rigs. Parker is also specialist in deep well, Arctic and geothermal drilling. Gates too was the deputy director of the CIA. Who are the members of the SAIC? So I can't reach to read all of it, but you can take it from here so you can see what this is about. This seems feasible. I kinda knew this has nothing to do with oil. What they're doing down there do not look like anything oil. Not at all. That's some weird equipment. And they might even spray this fertilizer out into the ocean. That is that setup they have down there. They are producing algae already. And they don't care if the northern hemisphere will be flung into an ice age, because this will happen. Right now the Mexican Gulf Stream is dead. And the reason why it's dead is because the viscosity of the water is too low. The salt in the water is very high in the Mexican Gulf, and that is the drive, the engine, the fuel for the Gulf loop current. And right now they are filling that with Corexit, and they're filling that with crude oil, and that makes the bonding of the salt itself, because salt is a bonding a mineral, and it's very important to the human body too. You know what happens if you don't get salt. Yeah, you know. You can't hold your body fluids. You begin to simply just dehydrate naturally. The salt is binding the fluid into your body, into your cells. So what happens is that the oil is diluting the salt content